Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. It's Coram and Ed Carson here with a look at the action in today's session, where we did see an encouraging step as the market tries to continue to repair a lot of the damage that we've seen as of late.
Yeah, it was a nice day. It wasn't like a character-changing day, even technically, but it was a nice action after the Fed minutes. There's definitely, while there's a lot of bottom feeders that came up, definitely a lot of energy stocks continue to lead with Schlumberger, Equinor, and Accelerate Energy all clearing buy points today.
All right, well, let's go ahead and take a look at the major indexes. The Nasdaq up 1.5% today. The Russell 2000, though, leading the way up 2%, or about 1.9% or so. The S&P 500 up 1%, and the Dow up about 0.6%. So really today, Ed, the Nasdaq fueling the gains. Or I'm sorry,
Yeah.
the Fed fueling the gains.
Yeah, the market was sort of back and forth, and the Fed came in and said, hey, it wasn't a whole lot of surprises. It said we're going to raise rates by 50 basis points in June and July, which is basically what people expected. They did say, and this is back in early May when conditions looked a little better, that, well, by raising rates aggressively now, basically said we'll have more flexibility if we need to change course or shift gears, like maybe slow down, or it could mean speeding up. But I think people are thinking it's slowing down. And given the recent action we've seen with a lot of the corporate warnings and some of the economic data that came in well below views, people worried about a recession, that maybe the thought is, okay, the Fed will react if after a couple of rate hikes and we get through the summer, and they're going, well, what do we do now? So, that might have been a little encouraging. So it was a nice price gain. There was some give back in the last 45 minutes. And while the NASDAQ price gain was enough to qualify for a follow-through day, it does not appear that volume was higher than the prior session. So you need a solid price gain on one or more of the major indexes, and then you need higher volume than the prior day. And while we don't have official numbers yet, it appears that we're going to be modestly lower versus Tuesday.
And so, I mean, those are the two key ingredients, a solid price gain and then volume higher than the session before. But also, Bill O'Neill has said that he likes a decisive look to a follow-through day. And with us below the 10-day moving average and kind of in the same trading range as the last couple of sessions, it doesn't quite have that decisive look to it.
No, it doesn't. I mean, the S&P and Dow technically are above their 10-day lines, but if you go to a weekly on the Nasdaq, okay, we're up, but I don't think anybody would say we've changed decisively here. We've had a lot of down days. I mean, just getting over last week's high would be like, okay, now we're starting to get somewhere that's probably getting close to the 21-day, the 12,000 level. I mean, you can see there's a lot of room to go before you'd start feeling better. Not that we couldn't have it beforehand, but if and when we have a follow-through day, we may need to see more. We also don't have a lot of stocks outside of the energy space that are really setting up. So there's like a whole bunch of energy stocks. That's its own little world. But everything else, it's very limited, which makes sense because everything's sort of gone straight down. Even the stocks with relative strength, most of them need repair work to be ready for a breakout.
That's right. And so we did briefly look at the S&P 500. I'll pull it up here. Looks like just under that 4,000 level, but above its high from 2 days ago now. And also look at 0DJIA, the Dow here, also above its last 2 trading days of action, and the 32,000 level. And we can take a look at the 10-year Treasury yield, so continuing to pull back here a little bit.
And that's with the market going up. See, part of the reason, if you start thinking, that the market rallying and the yields coming down, it's significant a little bit in that regard. But yeah, so that's finding support there, and we're still looking forward to. The economy is still on unshaken ground. You could easily see negative reports in the next few days. Still a lot of earnings reports coming out. Next week we'll get jobs report. So still a lot of things to be looking ahead. Long way before the next Fed meeting, honestly.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, well, speaking of strength and energy, that's definitely the theme of today's show. So let's start off with a look at Schlumberger, up 2.6%, above average volume, and that relative strength line has a blue dot, underscoring the recent outperformance versus the S&P 500.
Yeah, and you could argue that there's getting above short-term level at 44.51, and then there was the trend line from a couple days ago. What was nice about today is that it was higher volume. If that's not, it's right around a closing high. So it's basically above almost everything except for that one day of trading. So definitely looking positive in that regard. It's been a strong week for this company. Uh, obviously everything in energy is looking pretty good right now. And if you think that drilling will pick up, they're going to need more activity. This sector was a little bit of a laggard because there was some concern, will they actually drill more? And while we're not in the old stages of like several years ago when they'd spend when every dime shale companies could find they'd spend on new drilling, they're returning a lot of it, but still drilling is picking up. The rates are picking up. You're seeing some pretty you're slowly accelerating revenue. You're seeing the profit gains return. It should be a strong couple of years. So there's some reasons to like Schlumberger and its related companies.
hmm And let's also take a look at EQNR. This was our stock of the day today.
Yeah, and this one did not have a lot of volume, so that's something to keep in mind. It's got a well, it's a consolidation, but sort of flattish base. It's not that deep. RS line at highs, but it's move above the 50-day line, and you could probably draw a trend line, what have you, if and get above in some way. So that would be an early entry here. This is a Norwegian state-owned oil firm. They also do some natural gas. I believe they recently reopened an LNG terminal, one of the only ones in Europe. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of demand for LNG in Europe. So just anything shifting over there. So it's hitting a lot of buttons. It's got 4 straight quarters of triple digit revenue growth. I mean, the earnings, some of them are versus losses. So that's why they're not, but they're essentially triple digit otherwise. The growth will slow this year as comparisons get tougher, but you can see 85% growth seen in 2022. That's pretty good. Again, not surprising. We're seeing that all over the place in the energy space.
hmm So another early entry here for a stock in the integrated industry group within the oil and gas sector. And then we also want to take a look at EE clearing a trend line today. This is in the utility gas distribution group, but this is an LNG play.
Yeah, I believe they have floating LNG terminals. So just another one in there. Sure, the rates are moving very high. They had earnings today. Really don't know because doesn't seem like a lot of analyst coverage. So I wasn't seeing how they did versus estimates. Seems like the market liked the reaction
hmm
to it. You're seeing the revenue growth accelerate. While earnings fell versus a year earlier, that comes after a lot. It looks like the earnings are improving. There was a loss the prior quarter. It's supposed to be strong earnings in 2022. So yeah, broke that trend line. Now it's getting up there a little ways. You might, maybe it forms a handle or pulls back a little closer to that trend line. Just be something to be aware of because especially with an IPO, you want to try to get there as, close as possible. And look, even energy stocks show some volatility, and this
Right.
one, it's an IPO. You can see the big moves. Those. So I don't want to discount that. It's not like, oh, energy stocks, all they do is go is up. No, they don't. There's but nice move for this one after sort of pulling back for a few weeks. Definitely just another one to play. It's one of the only IPOs we've had in 2022. Certainly one of the only ones that it's profitable.
hmm All right. Well, another stock they were watching. And, hey, Ed, I feel like if perhaps we were in a different market environment, this is something that you might be all over because in 2020 and 2021, I feel like, we started calling you IPO Ed.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was well deserved or not, but I did not take advantage of this. I am waiting for a follow through day, and even that I think I will have limited exposure initially. I might energy would be a good place to go or a broad market index. And I understand if people took advantage of it, especially in the energy space. So if you did that with some of these stocks, I'm not going to fault you. But that's just right now. I just sort of waiting for some more confirmation in this market. And even that is, we're going to need a confirmation and then more and more and more. to get me increasingly into the market.
Mm-hmm. Well, at the very least, some good watch list stocks, or if investors did want to take positions, go in small and make sure you have a level that you know you're going to be getting out, instead of trying to convince yourself that you should stay in, even if a winning trade turns into a losing one, because that psychological game can be very difficult, and risk management is so important.
Absolutely.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. We will be back with more tomorrow morning on IBD Live with Ed as our host. So definitely make sure you tune in, investors.com/IBD Live, for all the details on that. We'll see you then, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow after the close.